I'm back again with Ashley Weil, holotropic breathwork facilitator, who I've had the privilege of sitting with. Yeah, just some powerful experiences with you, Ashley, and Chuck, your husband, and so having this conversation because I want more people to know about holotropic breathing, and I found it really impactful in my life. And the question that I have on my mind is, if someone says, "Oh, holotropic breathing," I think I've watched a YouTube video and I did some breath work with it for 20 minutes. That was holotropic breathing, right? Can you describe the practice of holotropic breathing for someone who, yeah, first time?
Yes, I'm glad to. Okay, so what would happen is you would lie down on a mat with a pillow and blankets and whatever you needed to make yourself warm enough and comfortable enough and supported enough. Okay. And then the session would begin. Well, first, even before you lay down on the mat, the session would begin with an introductory talk to the theory and practice of breath work. But just to do the breath work itself, we would have you lay down on the mat and get all comfortable. And then we would start with a guided relaxation. And the purpose of that guided relaxation is just to help you settle a little bit. And in that guided relaxation, we remind you about the degree of support that there is for you, the physical support of the mat and the covers and the pillow under your body, and the support of other people in the room that have a similar curiosity and desire for experience. And also, of course, of the support of this planet, this amazing planet that supports us all always. And then we suggest that you breathe a little deeper and a little faster than you usually do. Not in a way that it would be like if you were running, not to that degree, but just a little bit deeper and a little bit faster, and to allow the breath to become sort of a circle so that the in breath kind of naturally yields to the out breath, and the out breath lets you know when it's time to breathe in again. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret here, Matthew, and that is that the breath itself, that attending to the breath, I have come to believe is part of how we get that egoic mind to be willing to step back a little bit, to stop having to make things happen all the time, to stop having to figure it out or direct it or force it. So, in that task of attending to the breath as it goes in and out, and it becomes a circle, that sort of gives a task to that egoic mind that sets the space, that makes room for that intuitive self, which is what that inner healer is part of, to come forward. And so after you attune, you start attending to the breath in that way, we give reminders that the breath and the music that you hear together, it's like in combination, they create sort of a current.
Mm-hmm.
And I often imagine that as being like a stream, like that you get into a nice sturdy canoe, it's sturdy and water safe, and you launch yourself in, and the rhythm of the current of the stream is going at just the right pace for you.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really comfortable to you. And you might use your oars just a little bit. The breath is kind of like the oars to get you started. And then as you're moving down, riding the current of the breath and the music together, then different things sort of begin to come into your awareness, images or ideas or visualizations or ahas. And every one of them is something perfect and wonderful and curious, and it's about you. And so then the thing about that breath, no, in 20 minutes, you're not really going to do it. In 20 minutes, you might can give yourself a sense of what it could be if you stayed a little longer,
Mm.
and if you had that good evocative music, and if you had a supportive environment where, as things started coming up for you, there was someone that would say, "That's right, let it come up.
Mhm.
That's right. Keep going. Someone there to support you, someone there to encourage you, someone there to get you an extra blanket if you need it, or hand you Kleenex if you need it, or all those things. So 20 minutes can, like at the 20-minute point, would really be at the point that something really started happening. Okay. So, no, you probably haven't gotten to that kind of state at just 20 minutes, but you're approaching it. And also, it's not just any music, it's music that gives you some momentum, that gives you a current to ride. And so, a breathwork session will actually last 2.5 to 3 hours typically. And you don't stay with that particular effort of the breath the entire time. You just stay with the effort of the breath until interesting things are coming up for you. You're seeing images, or your body's wanting to move in a particular way, or you're feeling different things. And then you let your attention go to be with those things that are coming up for you. And then if you start feeling like, oh, here I am, Matthew, back to my more ordinary self, then you go back to the breath for a little while, and the music's still playing, and the breath will take you right back in. So often, you know how when you go to sleep at night and you might dream several times during the night, you don't necessarily dream like from start to finish, one single dream. Breath work is usually that way too. It might be that you go in and there's a little piece about this, and then you kind of drift for a little while, you go back to the breath a little bit, and then here's another piece that comes, and you do the same thing. So you might have three or four or half a dozen different little intervals in that non-ordinary state where something very interesting comes up for your exploration.
So, Ashley, one of the things I've found really helpful in sitting with you and Chuck is how what you're describing here, and you've spoken to how it's bookend by the relaxation at the beginning, but there's centering, there's check-in, then there's the breath work, there's the music happening, there's the breathing happening, there's the would you call yourself sitters or guides?
Well, I am a
Yeah.
facilitator. If you breathe in a group, then typically we have people work in partnerships.
Yes.
And in that case, it's an all day experience.
Yes.
And half of the group in the morning will be sitters, and the other half will be breathers. And then Chuck and I are still in the room as facilitators.
Hmm.
But this way, we can have a larger group of people. And if somebody needs an extra blanket, their breather helps, their sitter helps them with that. If someone needs to go to the bathroom, their sitter would walk with them. If they want a drink of water, their sitter would attend, to handing them um, their water bottle. If something really emotional was coming up and you felt like I just would a little human contact would be helpful, then your sitter would hold your hand,
Hmm.
or be really near
That's
you
right.
so you feel that comforting presence.
Yes.
So if Chuck and I work with people in a private or a semi-private session, in that case, we're both the sitters and the facilitators. But if we have a group of four or more, then we do go ahead and do that whole day. And I have to say, Matthew, there's something so beautiful about doing it that way, because when you're a sitter, there's this there's this lovely thing that you learn to do that, again, so often we don't have a way in our culture for doing. And you learn to just be present, and you don't direct anything, you don't tell the person what to do. And it's so funny because some sitters get really worried about that they won't know what to do, or they go into hyperdrive, making sure the blanket is super smooth, or they keep watching so vigilantly. And it's really lovely to watch people learn that practice
Mhm.
too. And and often people will talk about how significant the experience of sitting is for them, how it's something that they haven't really known how to do. I would share a story with you from my own life, Matthew. When I first met holotropic breath work, um, really soon after that, my grandmother went into a nursing home, into the what they call the memory care unit. And she knew I was hers, but she couldn't say, "Oh, this is my granddaughter, Ashley." And she never really knew where she was.
Mhm.
And she would kind of be off in her own version of a non ordinary state of consciousness. You know, there are lots of kinds of non ordinary states of consciousness. And other people who had their family members there would try to reorient them to present time. Don't you remember this is who I am? Or don't you remember how you did this at such and such a time? And they would be so frustrated trying to orient this person back to ordinary reality. And that's not really possible. And so everyone is frustrated. And I learned that I could just go in and sit down with my sweet little grandmama and be with her wherever she was, whatever age she felt like she was, whatever story she had about who I was. And I just could be there with her. I didn't try to fix her, I didn't try to make her see things a certain way. And I was so grateful to breath work because I knew that it was my experience as a sitter that allowed me to do that.
Yeah, you're speaking to this gift that the sitter and the breather both have,
Mhm.
right? The gift for the sitter to practice this witnessing
Mhm.
presence of,
Yeah.
yeah, here there's nothing to do, just nothing to prove, just here and supporting. And
Mhm.
then, even the best of our science says that, when things are witnessed, it changes what happens
It
among,
does. Yes. Yes.
molecules. And so the power of a witnessing presence, to do this, in community, not solo, right? Not on a 20-minute YouTube video, which is fine, but
Right.
it's not the same thing. And the last thing I want to say here is that, with the practice as well, there's the closing, where there's the art, there's the drawing, so connecting with that part of knowing, that artistic, creative, intuitive, just kind of doing
Mhm.
some drawing or coloring of like what happened, processing, and then the closing circle, where there's no pressure to share some great revelation, but just whatever it needs to be said, to be processed. So I love the whole, set and setting, where
Yeah.
it's really honored. This process is really honored, and great, great job explaining how it works. Thank you so
Well, the
much, Ash.
reason we do that, okay. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay.
Keep
So
on
the
going.
reason, so the reason we do the artwork and the reason then that we sit down again in circle to invite everyone to share just whatever they feel like they'd like to share at that point in time touches on the concept of integration,
Yes.
which is so often missing again in our Western culture. We have so many opportunities available to us. We hear about all these cool things that we can go and do and experience. And because we're busy Westerners, we do one and then we go right back to work, or we go right back to taking care of our kids, we go right back in. And then what happens is that whatever treasure we found in the experience doesn't really settle itself inside of us. It doesn't really become part of us. We don't stay transformed. We have a memory of a moment of transformation, but we don't really live our lives transformed because we haven't put enough time and space and put some practices around it that allow it to settle into us.
Right.
So the artwork itself, I have been doing this for so many years and I still draw stick figures. It's not an art competition at all, but what it is a chance to again allow that more playful and intuitive side to just reach for the colors, reach for an image that you can kind of create, because then you get to take that with you. And we even encourage people for a couple of weeks after, hang it on your refrigerator or hang it on the bathroom mirror so that you keep seeing it, you keep being reminded. And then when you sit down in a circle of people that way, again, you're like a council of sacred witnesses to just with respect and compassion and open heartedness to listen to people share whatever has come up for them that they feel like they'd like to talk about. And so we always encourage people, even if you're doing other modalities of work, create practices for yourself of integration
That's
so
right.
that whatever explorations you're doing, that treasure goes home with you and changes your life.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now we can take a break if you want to.
Yeah, that's perfect. If you want to get Ashley talking, but especially if you want to get me talking, ask me about my holotropic breathwork experiences. I will go like this for a good 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
I know you're so passionate too about it, Ashley. Thank you
Oh, I
so
appreciate it. Yeah.
much.